Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with a blog to watch. Today I'm going to review the Bulova Marine Star Heritage. I think the way of summing up this watch the best is they created the smallest version that I know of the chronograph version of the Precisionist. It's actually a slightly new movement, or one that I'm not familiar with that they had before. And they try to integrate it with a more classic design. So there is an older Bulova Marine Star from the 1970s that looks similar to this, not exactly, and they use that as inspiration. The Precisionist movement came out well over a decade ago. Bulova is owned by the Citizen Group, and they created the Precisionist movement for Bulova. And it's a very interesting movement that it tries to incorporate the best of both worlds in terms of mechanical features and quartz features. It is a quartz watch at heart with a sweeping seconds hand. Not all the chronograph versions have the sweeping seconds hand, but what they all have is a very high 262 kilohertz operational frequency. That's compared to about 32 kilohertz for standard quartz movement. So you're looking at much higher accuracy. That's really what precisionist means. In the three-hand versions, it also means a sweeping seconds hand. They don't have that in all the chronographs because it's just sort of very power intensive, though you will have a sweeping chronograph seconds hand as it's moving around. This movement is known as the NP20, and the NP20 Precisionist is a slightly toned down version of the other chronographs. The other chronographs have more hands and can measure down to a more precision, I think it's 1/1000th of a second. This is 1/20th of a second, I believe. You don't really need more. Human beings aren't really good at being able to time themselves. So that greater accuracy for the chronograph is cool, but if you're actually timing things, you can't really use it that much. So this watch has a 60-minute chronograph where you can measure down to 1/20th of a second, but they've been able to simplify and slim down the dial. So the time, date, chronograph, and compared to some of the other Precisionist chronographs, this is comparatively small. Now, the Precisionist is a big movement, and it has to be because it's a very power-hungry movement and a large battery, usually lithium-ion battery. And that's meant that Citizen and Bulova have had to do a lot of creative engineering to create Bulova watches that are that incorporate the movements but aren't too big. And they've done some very interesting things over the years. Some of those watches, in my opinion, end up being too big, but this really just got it just right. So this is about as small as you can get for a precisionist chronograph movement, and I think it was very smart of them to do this more classic design. The watch is just a hair under 43 millimeters. They were like 42.85. It's 43 millimeters. The thickness is really not too bad. It's water resistant to 200 meters. It's got a nice domed sapphire crystal. The rotating bezel, it has, I believe, a mineral crystal insert there. This just ended up looking so nice. Like when I saw the images of this watch, the marketing images, I was like, maybe. But in person, the dial legibility, the finishing, the overall way this watch fits together, I think that this watch honestly looks far better in person than it does in the images. It's got that high precision quartz movement that I appreciate because it's like, about a second a month compared to about 15 seconds a month for a standard quartz movement. Obviously, mechanical movement's going to be within a few seconds a day. So I think 1 second a month is totally fine, especially at this price point, because other high accuracy quartz movements on the market are much more expensive. Citizen, of course, the parent company, has much more expensive ones within their brand, Seiko within Grand Seiko. So Precisionist, amongst the high precision quartz watches out there, is amongst the more affordable, and that's why I've always loved it. The Marine Star Heritage has a nice bracelet with a little, we'll call it a comfort adjust. There's some still plastic components on there, which is not as useful as a micro adjust, but overall I really like this watch on the bracelet, which is sort of a president style bracelet a little bit there. I actually would like to see this watch off the bracelet and putting on a strap, which I might do because I think that would be quite interesting. Again, it's a larger watch, a little bit heavier because it's in steel and it's got that big movement. But again, I think that Bulova did about as good a job as they can. One of the elements from the watch that this was inspired by was this ring of red stars, which on this this watch is under the 12 o'clock hour indicator. On the historic watch from the 70s, it was above the 6 o'clock hour marker. But if you're curious what that ring of red stars is, it's based upon the heritage of being inspired by that old piece. So I know that Marine Star Heritage is sort of a weird name, especially since this is more sort of a pilot style watch. Yes, it does have 200 meters of water resistance, but I think there's a lot more watch than the name might suggest. So once again, this is the Bulova Marine Star Heritage with its Precisionist chronograph movement. Very interesting. Retail price is $995, and you can see the full review on a blog to watch. Thanks.